So, last week I told you about me. This week I'm going to tell you a little bit about my choral philosophy, although it's not so well fleshed out that I could write a book on it. But when you think of the word choir, what do you think of? What I used to think of was a large group of people standing on risers with perhaps that acoustic shell behind them, with a guy or a gal in black in front of them, waving like this, and so the audience sees the back of that person and this large group of people. And what it becomes is an art form that the audience has no one to whom to relate. The audience only has the music coming out to relate to. And I participated in choirs like that for years. And what struck me about those choirs, participating in them, I loved it, and I still do. I love singing in larger choirs, or even smaller choirs with a conductor. I think it's a fantastic thing. But what struck me about it is that in a conductor-driven choir, the individual singer becomes a cog in the conductor's machine, so to speak, somebody who is contributing to the whole, but isn't necessarily important for him or herself. So you lose your individuality while you're contributing to the whole. And that happens a lot in choirs, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I talk a lot about when new couples getting married, you know, they light the unity candle, and what always has bothered me about the unity candles, you light the candle and you're becoming one, but then you blow out your individual candles. And I've always thought, well, can't you do it differently? Can't you light the candle and become one and still have your own candle burning bright? So when I started Octarium, I was mulling through all of these things. I knew I didn't want to conduct. I was fought on that a lot because people told me it will be very hard to market something that doesn't have one face to identify with, and the marketing tools for larger choirs is always the conductor's face, you know, standing there with a baton. And so I was fought, how are you going to market 8 faces? How are you going to market 8 people? And so what I did instead is I marketed the concept of Octarium, 8 as 1. One voice, 8 singers, 1 voice, Octarium. And so that enabled me to have my singers change, which they do periodically, but it also enabled me to market the concept of the group rather than of the conductor or of the artistic director. The second thing I did, and I remember feeling this way a lot when I was younger in choirs, is that I would often have ideas about how to do things or how to structure things or how to phrase things. You know, as a singer, you always think, oh, I can't make this phrase, but I could make this phrase. Is that okay? And none of those ideas were often not listened to by the conductor, because the conductor wasn't singing my part, so the conductor had no idea. And so what I wanted to do with Octarium was give the singers some control. Not necessarily all the control. There's a reason that I'm the artistic director. You know, the singers, we can chat and we can talk about things, but when it comes down to it, I make the final decisions. But my philosophy is at any point in any rehearsal process, I have 8 singers in front of me who all have their own development of knowledge. They have all learned things in places that aren't where they are now. They all bring to the table individual situations that they've been through, individual music they've made, individual experiences they've had that have created in them a sense of what art is, a sense of what choral music is, a sense of how to collaborate. And so Octarium tries to maximize on that sense of collaboration, because what choral music is, no matter how you do it, it's voices together. You can't have a choir unless there are voices collaborating together. That's just the general, definition of choral music is voices together. And so I think one of the things that makes Octarium so special is that it is an octet of unaccompanied music. So it is 8 people coming together, bringing their voices together, and in the end, performing together. When they perform, I'm nowhere in sight. There are not 8 people submitting to the whim of whatever somebody in front of them is doing. There are 8 people collectively deciding how to perform a piece at that particular moment in time and space. As an artistic director, that can be extremely scary when I sit in the back of a performance and think, what the heck are they doing? But it also is ultimately one of the most rewarding things I've ever done artistically, because I watch them grow as singers and I watch the group grow as a group, because they are each bringing to the table so much more than they would bring if I were completely in charge. And so what I call this, and that's the name of this vlog, vlog, video log, vlog is such a strange word. what I call it is democratic dictatorship. They all have a say. They all can give input, and certainly in the rehearsal process they do. But in the end, it is my vision that that determines how the end product is going to look. And so you can go online and see some of those end products, some of those live performances that we have posted on YouTube by checking out the address below. But the point of this blog, I would think, after all of this talking that I've done, is that any music you ever create, whether you are a soloist or not, somehow you're collaborating with something or someone. If you are an instrumentalist and you're playing something all by yourself, you're still collaborating with your instrument. If you're a vocalist and you're singing something all by yourself, you're still collaborating with your instrument, you know. And if you sing, you know that every morning you wake up and there's something a little bit different about what's happening in there. And so you need to collaborate with what you can and can't do that day. If you are a vocalist working with an accompanist, you're still doing a collaboration. And so music is not necessarily about force of ego, but it is about a force of ego in collaboration with other forces of ego. And so sometimes you have to give up a little bit of your musical ego to make the collaboration work. And I think that's a lesson not just for music, but also for life.